Never was it known that anyone who turned to you was left unaided. My name is Father Paul Pang. I am 85 years old or so. I've been ordained about 55 years ago. I live just down the road here. So every weekend I would come to Novena Church. And the preaching of the Redemptorists, and in that Novena Church and also in the schools, that really drew me to embrace my Catholic faith and eventually to become a Redemptorist myself. I was baptized by Father Creed, but I did not tell him and ask him to help me to join the Redemptorists. I went to see the Jesuits. Not that I went there, but my father and his godfather, who was a chancellor, brought me to see a Jesuit in the hope that I would become a Jesuit. But I do not know the Jesuits at all. Father Joy, the Jesuit, said, "Do you like to teach?" I said, "No, I don't like to teach. I like to preach, like the Redemptorists at Novena Church." So immediately he knew I was not cut out to be a Jesuit. And Father Joy then rang out Novena, and the rector was Father Joyce, from joy to Joyce. And in those days, it was very easy. Anyone who expressed a slightest desire to become a Redemptorist, they would send him straight to Australia. There was no novice director, director of novices and so on, or director of Vocation rather. We went to a place called Geelong. It was from primary to pre-U. I did not have any intention of going to the university, so I just sat down and enjoyed the lessons. And at the end of the term, all the students went back to their families, but I got no family. So Warden Crick took me to his farm and looked after me. And at the end of the holidays, I went straight into the novitiate in Pennant Hills. After the novitiate in Pennant Hills, we went to Ballarat. There were about 5 or 6 of us. And one of my closest friends was Father Keith Teefy. The first few years was disastrous. Instead of leading us to love our vocation, to embrace our vocation out of love, our director did not know how to do that. All he did was scream and shout at us. But after surviving the first 3 dismal years of non-formation, or what shall I say, corn formation, corn in the sense of fake, but also it also means conform only, not inspired. So I was conformed to the needs, conform to the threats. He was not trained for that. He didn't want the job anyway. He was a very generous man. During the war, he was captured by the Japanese, and he would work on the Siamese Railway. And he would stand up to defend someone whom the Japanese officer was going to cut off his head. And he stopped that and told the officer, hey, don't take him too seriously because he's gila. So then the fellow put down his sword. But now he was a good man, but he was not a formator. He did not know how to. And it was only by studying theology that I found the inspiration to embrace and not to just save my soul, to embrace with great love. And it is something, of course, it's ongoing. Till today, I'm still struggling to love my vocation because you cannot achieve anything overnight. You see, it's a lifelong achievement, a lifelong struggle. To love my vocation and keep on doing it till the day I die. Well, that was the big day. I was ordained here in this church, in the old church, which is still standing, in 1966. This is the goal for which I joined the Redemptorists, to be ordained as a Redemptorist priest, and to make preaching one of my great aim as a Redemptorist, to preach the gospel, preach the good news of God's love for us. Having experienced God's love, I would reach out to those people whom the church cannot reach. The challenge was just my parents' gift to me. After my ordination, I went back to Ballarat to finish my studies for just a few, short term. And then after that, we were given a year to learn how to preach under Father Cullinan, and who was a very good preacher himself. But it consisted in, every weekend going across the state of Victoria, up to Bairnsdale and back. We are initiated into preaching. So we have to write our sermon, show it to Father Cullinan, and then we will go and preach during the weekend and then come back again. So that was one whole year of initiation, and it was a wonderful experience because all that you have been taught and slogged for in our studies is now being used and coming to life. And you can see the meaning of what we had to learn in the seminary. How are we redeemed? All right? We are redeemed because Jesus died for us. All right? And we are Redemptorists. We are preaching redemption. So this is what the cross symbolizes. And there were not many people who was able to initiate me into preaching. The only one who taught me how to preach was Father P.J. O'Neill. But we never totally agreed on what we say. We will argue, we will disagree, but it was good to have someone to challenge you. Yeah? And so Father O'Neill and I had a great time working together up and down Malaya and then Singapore. He was a really wonderful friend with me. Besides having been inspired by the priests who went before, like Father Bird and Father Grogan and so on. Particularly one who I really found very inspiring was Father Dobson, who was so kind and so good that he converted through his kindness, my cousin. So you see, if you want vocation, it's not from a book. It's from the way people see you live your life. Are you happy at all? Are you joyful? You know? I was in Ballarat. We students, I wasn't ordained yet, were sent to visit some families in Ballarat. So I went to the house of a very nasty lady, and she said to me, "Don't come back here anymore, you don't want to be insulted." I said, "Oh, I'm going to come back again and again because I love to be insulted." She did not know what to say after that. No, sometimes, very, not very often, but sometimes you get some nasty people to meet in your work, huh? But mostly people spoil you already with the kindness. And the happiest time I have is giving mission, parish mission with Father O'Neill. There was a girl, a Catholic girl, and she came to see me. I was saying to her, "Well, Jesus said, where two or three are gathered together in my name, I'm in the midst of them, and if you ask for anything in my name, it will be granted to you." So I said a short prayer. I said, we are here together, and Jesus here is among us. So in His name I ask you to help this girl who's in front of me. And so she left. She went to London, and years later, something like 20 years, 30 years later, she came back to Singapore. She visited me. So it's very important when we deal with people to pray with people. Because if you pray with people, Jesus is there in the midst, and He's praying with us and for us. We are certain to have our prayers answered. So, also another prayer that I like very much, or devotion that I like very much, is, you know what? Our Lady. She is omnipotent. God is omnipotent by nature, but she's omnipotent by grace. So every night before I sleep, I always come here and pray to Our Lady. And I say, there's nothing you cannot do, because you have all the power you can get from our Lord, you know. So I say, you take care of us, take care of the congregation, take care of all the people who come to me. You may not have your answer, your answer immediately, but in God's good time, He will make sure that because Our Lady asks, you can be sure that our prayer will be answered. So there is a family here that I know, but I won't tell you who. Oh, it's terrible, you know. The fighting and the quarrel. I said the memorare. Sometime in God's time, my prayers will be answered. So always have absolute confidence in Our Lady, because never was it known that anyone who turned to you was left unaided. So that's why every night I go up to the picture of Our Lady and say, I put everything into your hand, and I'm sure it will be answered sooner or later.